Well, I'm John Gazan and I'm a local Western Port Phillip Bay fisherman. In those days we were seining. Seining is running a net out and running around the fish, bringing them into shallower water, selecting the fish that you want and opening up the net and letting the rest swim away. And probably back in the early 80s, I think it was, we'd been out fishing for the day, and somewhere around Christmas time, New Year. At any rate, we're about 1 o'clock in the morning or so, and we cleaned up what we were doing, and we decided, well, we couldn't continue fishing because we're out of boxes. And in those days, the fish were in wooden boxes, and you sent your fish and your wooden box. We'd take them to San Remo, and they'd go on the truck and go to the Melbourne market. And not always would the truck bring back boxes. And also sometimes the boxes had come back smashed up. So first thing you had to do was get boxes. The second thing you had to do was sit down and nail them back together. So at any rates, it was about that time in the morning we decided, we've got a problem here. Well, what we'll do, we'll toddle over to San Remo because we had a pretty good idea that the jetty shed had a truckload of boxes. So Kenny Woods and I jumped in his vehicle and we went over to San Remo and drove down the pier, and I went in the jetty shed, and I'm pulling boxes out of the jetty shed to put them in the trailer. And I get a couple of boxes in the trailer and got a couple of boxes in my hands, walking over the trailer, and next minute this bloke with a semi-automatic shotgun pokes the barrel into my chest, which sort of startled me. And he said, and he started talking, but I could tell that he wasn't he wasn't very fit, to put it bluntly. And as I'd found out later on, he'd been hired by the co-op because in the Christmas New Year period, you used to have a lot of trouble with people would come down the pier and they would let boats go and do all sorts of funny things. So somebody got the bright idea to hire this watchman. Well, I don't know whether anybody really knew, but what he used to do, he was in the pub till 10, and I don't know whether he continued after that, but at any rate, so I figured, well, this bloke, he's well under the weather, and he starts carrying on, and you can't be here, rah, 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 and you're stealing that, and then the next minute, Ken popped out of the shadows. And what are you doing, mate, you know? And we had to talk him down. And I suppose after about 5 minutes or so, I don't know whether he got tired or whatever, he decided, well, perhaps we weren't thieves. So he wandered off with his shotgun. I don't know whether it was loaded or not. And I think the next 2 or 3 days later, we're over at the co-op and we asked them, what's going on here? And they told us that they'd hired this so-called night watchman. And we said, well, you need to have a bit of a word to him, because had we not been very reasonable, level-headed people, there could have been a rather serious incident. It could have been big trouble. It was, quite a surprise, but long day, bit tired. You know, once he opened his mouth and he's slurring his speech and everything, there was a pretty good chance he was just all talk. And we found out that he was christened around the port as Shotgun Harry. So I don't know whatever happened to him again, never struck him again. So I guess he could have pulled the trigger. I guess I could be dead. All for a rotten fish box.